Fair enough. So let's wrap this up really quick with 2 fan questions. First one is define a diehard fan. And for me, I struggle with this one because I feel like diehard, it's all subjective. And Chase and I are both members of a group, Utah Jazz Diehards Unite. And I struggle sometimes with the comments that are put in this group because if one person doesn't necessarily agree with what somebody else did, or when people were burning the Hayward jerseys and somebody said this is ridiculous, they called them out for not being as diehard, or if you were truly as diehard as me, you'd understand why I'm doing this. And to me, that's bull. I think that everybody shows diehard in a different way. I bet you there are fans out there that can name more about the Jazz, historically, stat line, whatever, that are more diehard than somebody who goes out and burns a jersey and says they're diehard and they did it because they felt angry. Mm-hmm. So I feel like as far as defining a diehard fan, you define yourself if you're a diehard fan and go with it from there.
Exactly. I think it's all opinionated and all based on us, based on each person individually. And I mean, I call myself a diehard fan because I've followed the team for years. I've always been a fan ever since I can remember. And and I can name almost every single starting lineup that they've had since they moved to Utah. That's why I call myself
even all the ones we've had last year.
Huh?
Including all the different lineups last year.
Exactly. I mean, I've always followed the Jazz. It's something that's always interested me, and I always enjoy, knowing stats and knowing different things like that. And so that's why I call myself a diehard fan. But I know a lot of people that call themselves diehard fans. A lot of my friends call themselves diehard fans of certain teams, and they could name their starting lineup right now. So I mean, it's all opinionated on the person, and I think diehard is completely different than what it was 15 years ago. I mean, fandom is becoming completely different. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, it was all about teams. Yeah, there were great Michael Jordan, great star powers, but everyone supported their team. It was more about teams. Now it's more about LeBron and Kyrie and Durant and Steph and, players. It's more player-centric, more player fandom. And so I feel like that's, the era of fandom has changed.
Right. So, I mean, on that note, like, if you were a fan of Gordon Hayward, if you liked his game, let's say that you followed him when he was at Butler. Mm-hmm. It was Butler, wasn't it?
Butler, yep.
That's what I thought. So when he was at Butler, obviously I don't know my facts about Gordon Hayward, but when he was at Butler, let's say that you followed him into the NBA, you're a college fan, you say, oh, I really liked this kid, I'm going to follow him in the NBA, and now he goes over to Boston. Does that mean you're not a diehard fan? I don't think so, because you liked Hayward. Mm-hmm. You didn't like the Jazz.
Yeah.
You followed him from before, and it's exactly what you were saying. It's player-oriented, and you define yourself if you're a diehard, and don't let anyone else tell you differently.
Exactly. And so that's, it's the same, Butler fans are probably all throwing away their Jazz jerseys and buying Celtics jerseys. It's just how it is. And so, a fan is a fan, no matter what anybody says. You could be a fan yourself and be completely different than another fan who's a fan of the same thing. And you can have completely different views on everything. It doesn't matter. A fan is a fan.
Just please don't be a bandwagon fan. Mm-hmm. Not a fan of bandwagon fans, but be a fan.
Yeah, be a fan.